Welcome. So, Russian association in the name or the brand is clearly toxic for business.
Hi, Jamie. Toxic today for very good reason. We made the decision, if I may, first of all, on very personal reasons. I was a former Royal Marine Commando. You were just talking about defence previous to this discussion. I got a founder who spent 20 years fighting against what is an evil regime. And I have a group of people within my team in the company and indeed our partners who made it very clear that they stand against what has happened in Ukraine. And therefore, very simply, to make it clear to everybody, but also we're making a statement, remove the Chnaya. We're Stoli. It's very clear and simple. We're a Latvian company based in Luxembourg, a NATO country.
What did you fear from consumers and for the safety of staff if you hadn't done this?
The honest truth is I didn't fear anything from consumers or staff. And I'll tell you why. Number one is because I do think that a company or a team, whoever it is, I think if we've learned nothing else by this recent crisis, that you have to stand up for what you believe. And therefore, it doesn't matter. Frankly, honestly, it doesn't matter the effect on the business. We felt very strongly that we had to stand up and be counted as leaders and as a team. So that's the first thing. I think the second is facts speak for themselves. So, when the invasion occurred on Thursday, the 24th of February, there was an outpouring of emotion over the next 2 days, and you will have seen people pouring vodka down the drain. We had our fair share of people coming out saying, "You're Russian." Well, I'm no different to those people pouring it away in a sense, in that it was a high degree of emotion. I've seen things in my previous life, the horrors of war, that the last thing I ever wanted to see was that played back on the screen. And we were facing it, and we're seeing it on a daily basis. So I absolutely stood up for people saying, I want to make a statement. The key then is making sure everybody understands the facts. And so we went out very quickly, as you will appreciate, and said, we understand your position. Please, by the way, we support it, and we've been involved in the resistance, and we agree that this is about evil being called out. But we are Latvian, so let's talk about the facts. We're Latvian, we're vodka's born in Latvia. Oh, and by the way, we have partners in Ukraine, we have employees in Ukraine, we have partners in other countries around. So once we played through the facts, what we found very, very quickly is that people came back and said, okay, we get where you stand, we get who you are. And I suppose the one extra part of this is our wish to then get involved. And obviously, whether that's actually helping my own employees getting out of the country, or indeed supporting husbands and loved ones still actually in the country fighting, and indeed our partners. And then indeed supporting World Central Kitchen with Jose Andes.
Let me just ask you how the Stoli Group has been supporting operations and staff in and around Ukraine since the invasion. I mean, this is a tough call for businesses trying to do business there.
No, it's a great question, and I think in many cases, and we did move some people out of the country before the invasion. You could read the tea leaves, you could see it happening, but in most cases it was women and children, some of whom are staff, by the way. The issue really subsequently has been, how do you, for instance, one of the members of my staff had a mother who was very sick, going through the final stage of chemotherapy in Kyiv hospital. So how do you deal with getting her out? We've managed to get her to Luxembourg. So there's a kind of an initial triage. I think the phase we're in at the moment is probably, look, that's tragic and it's very difficult, and you need to move people away from, frankly, the horror of what they're facing. But we're in a different phase now. And I put it into two parts. Number one is and I think I've described it as, when you're a refugee and you're a new refugee, the kind of global machine and aid agencies are pretty good. They get wound up and they support you. But after a couple of weeks, you actually become old news. But you yourself realize that this isn't where I want to be. I don't want to be on the border. I actually need to start to work out where my life is going. obviously money and living. So one of the things we've been doing now is working with some of the refugees, and in many cases our partners. We've got a distributor and suppliers on the ground. So we've actually been moving them to other countries, Latvia being the obvious one in this case, and actually settling them down into a new environment.